Hey there, I am so glad that you joined me today to discuss why medications are only a band-aid solution, why diet alone is not going to solve your health issues, and how trial and error can cause way more harm than good. So you're probably wondering why you should even listen to this and how this one audio is even going to help you when you've probably went to so many doctors and other practitioners who couldn't figure out your health issues. And you're probably thinking, that you've tried everything possible, and how is this girl from I don't know where going to help me? And I bet you have spent thousands of dollars and probably lost hope that you're ever going to find answers. But if there's one thing that you can give yourself, it's this 30 minutes. I'm going to ask you one thing, just to listen to the end, and you're not going to regret it. Because not long ago, I was seriously ill. I had lupus, so my body was attacking itself. And I was told by my immunologist that if I didn't go on immunosuppressants, I was going to die in the next 5 to 10 years. But here I am, it's almost 10 years later, and obviously I'm alive and I'm thriving. I am healthier than ever in my whole life. So I am lupus free. I'm full of energy. My pain is gone, and I've healed from some pretty amazing health issues. And I want to give you the tools to help you overcome your health issues. So today I want to share with you the topics that I believe are going to be vital to you if you're serious about healing. And I really only wish that somebody would have told me this when I started my healing journey, because it would have saved me years of pain, suffering, and frustration, and it would have saved me thousands of dollars. But first, let me introduce myself. My name's Sandy. I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I'm very different from doctors and naturopaths and other practitioners that just give you supplements or medication to suppress your symptoms. So whether you're suffering from weight gain, fatigue, migraines, inflammation or digestive issues, depression, any health issues that you're going through, my goal is to find out why. So I use the best testing available to find imbalances in your body, uncover the root cause of your health issue, and then I design a custom plan that's going to address your body as a whole, because everything is connected in your body and everything needs to be worked on. So I really hope that you listen to the end, because I'm going to share with you the exact steps that you need to take to heal your whole body. But let's get to our first topic: why medications are only band-aid solutions. So for this, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into my story. So I had my first migraine when I was 7 years old, and I'm never gonna forget that day. I remember screaming and crying at my aunt's house. The migraine was unbearable, the pressure in my head. Nobody understood what was going on. The doctors, I was 7 years old. How do you explain that to a child? And the migraines, they continued to plague me, and they kept getting worse and more frequent as I got older. So at 13 years old, I was already depressed, and I wasn't sleeping. So I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up because I wanted to cure my migraines. And I set out on that path. I entered university in the pre-medicine program because I hoped to get into med school. Now, in my late teens, I tried every drug out there with my doctor, and nothing worked for my migraines. In the end, they ended up putting me on Effexor because my depression was getting so bad. The pain was just terrible. I spent, sometimes a week at a time in bed in a dark room because of the migraines. So it was actually pretty amazing. The Effexor helped with my migraines, but the cost itself was pretty high. I was a zombie. So I call the years on Effexor my Vulcan years. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you know what a Vulcan is. But basically, I had no emotions whatsoever. I was a zombie. I was a Vulcan. But the migraines, I was migraine free for almost 5 years. But then the Effexor, it stopped working on the migraines altogether. They came back. So I tried to, obviously it's not working, I'm going to go off of it. I'm tired of being a zombie, and if it's not helping with my migraines. But holy mother of dragons, the doctors didn't warn me about any withdrawal symptoms, and they didn't even believe me when I tried to tell them what was going on. And we would decrease it by the smallest dose that's out there, and I would end up getting severe brain zaps. And it's almost impossible to describe a brain zap if you've never had one. It feels like your brain is being electrocuted, and it feels like you're floating a few feet above your head. It's probably the weirdest feeling on the planet, but I would also get severe nausea and I would get the worst migraines of my life. And I was so mad and I was so frustrated because I couldn't get off them. It's like they're not working and I can't get off them. So I decided then and there that being a doctor was not for me. The medications, they were toxic, they had terrible side effects, and I could never prescribe that to somebody. So I ended up changing my career path completely. And, you can really see from my experience alone, just with the antidepressants, how medications are just a Band-Aid solution. It helped for a little bit, it helped with the migraines, but I was a zombie. But the migraines it did help with, we have to give it that. But then it stopped working. So the medical system itself, it's not a healthcare system. It's a sick care system. So it's designed to make money, and it's the most ingenious business model on the planet. So our society is addicted to food and other stimulants, processed food. It's everywhere. So who approves the food that we eat? Well, the Food and Drug Administration. They provide us with the food, so we're going to need the drugs. So the drugs themselves, all they do is suppress a symptom. Have you ever seen anybody go on a drug and really feel better? And have you ever noticed that there's not any cures for diseases? And have you ever noticed that basically nowadays everything is labeled as a disease? Everything is incurable, but manageable with lifelong medication. So they say that they don't understand why these diseases are occurring, but do they honestly ever look? Well, of course not, because if they did, people would get better, people wouldn't need the medication, and there's no money in healthy people. Medications are being prescribed more and more and earlier than ever. Why? Well, because once you are on a drug, the odds that you're going to need that drug you just increase the odds that you're going to need more drugs because of the effects of the first drug. It's increased your need for another drug exponentially. So the medical system itself may seem broken, like it's terrible. The system is sad, but there's a huge need for it. What I've discovered over the years is that, 90% of the people that I talk to, they want a quick fix. They have no desire whatsoever to make lifestyle changes or do any work needed to heal. But that was definitely not me. And I could bet that if you're listening to this webinar, that it's definitely not you. You probably really want to heal. But, the emergency care system is an amazing system. If you lose your arm in an accident or you have any serious health issue, please go to the hospital. There is a time and a place for medication. And science itself is amazing. So the testing that we have available when you use it properly can streamline your healing process. And I myself, I don't believe in a disease model. I think that every illness, with the exception of some serious genetic issues, are our body trying to send us a message that something is wrong. Now, if we listen and try to understand and give our body what it's asking for, then the body is going to heal itself. The body wants to be healthy. It's trying constantly to return to a healthy state. So this is why drugs are only a Band-Aid solution. It's basically like turning your body and putting it on mute, or it's like going to a mechanic and them just turning off your check engine light instead of looking up the code, figuring out what's wrong, and then fixing your vehicle. So the problem is still there, and the issue can be addressed naturally. So moving on to our next topic, why elimination diets are not going to solve your health issues. We need to dig a little bit deeper again into my story. So in July of 2011, I was hospitalized for severe food poisoning. Now, another really big warning, and never eat tuna salad that smells a little bit off. And never, ever go back for seconds of the tuna salad that smells a little bit off. I know I can joke around about it now, but my whole life changed that day. And I'm honestly so happy that I got food poisoning that day, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be giving this webinar, and I wouldn't be helping people heal their bodies if I hadn't eaten that tuna salad, because I just would have continued along on my path that I was on at the time. So I lost so much weight in 2 weeks, and I was so weak that I couldn't climb a flight of stairs. And over the next year, I ended up starting to get random joint pain that was terrible, but it would only last a few weeks and then would go away. By the time I got in for any testing, I was fine. But my energy was gone, and over time the joint pain, it started getting more frequent, and then it wouldn't completely go away. And then I started having heart issues, and that was super scary. You could see my heart pounding in my chest, and you could literally feel the beats being off. So I ended up back at the hospital, and my pulse was completely erratic. It was going from 60 beats to 130 beats in seconds, and the nurse she just was like, wow, okay, we're getting you in right away. It was literally my shortest time ever in the ER, probably about 20 minutes. They hooked me up to the initial thing, and they got me right in and hooked up to some monitors. But I ended up seeing a cardiologist and then an immunologist because of my other symptoms. And within 2 months, I was diagnosed with lupus. So it was pretty amazing. Just weeks before my lupus diagnosis, I met a woman who had lupus, and she really confirmed my beliefs about the medical system. She had went on the immunosuppressants, and they worked for a little bit, but then the pain came back, and over time they destroyed her immune system. So she was basically fighting for her life every single day because the smallest infection would kill her. Just a common cold would put her in the hospital, and she could die. So I was terrified to go on the medication because of my experience with Effexor and because of all the side effects people have on them. But this woman, she really introduced me to natural healing, and it's totally sad. I don't remember her name. I never really got to thank her, and I don't even know if she's alive to this day. So my lupus ended up getting to the point where I had to move home with my parents, give up everything that I had, give up my whole life, and it was devastating. I went into a severe depression after that, but I was able to dig myself out of it, and I began researching, and I was super, super skeptical because I had been classically trained in my pre-medicine training, and I really wanted everything peer-reviewed. I wanted evidence-based, but it didn't take me long to realize that those things were completely biased towards the pharmaceutical companies. So I found another woman who was able to, she said she cured her lupus using a raw vegan diet. So I decided that I wanted to be raw vegan, and I decided I wanted to try cold turkey. Oh my goodness, it was terrible. It was, the withdrawals from food, they're nowhere near as bad as the withdrawals from Effexor, but it wasn't good. It was really funny looking back on it now. I didn't last long on the raw vegan diet that first time, probably a few weeks, but I kept trying. I went slower. I didn't do the cold turkey thing. And I eventually got on it, and I stayed on it, and I was feeling, pretty good. But I was starving, and even though I was eating 4,000 calories a day, I was constantly thinking about food. And anytime I strayed from my diet, I would have a huge lupus flare, big time. I ended up being 100 times more sensitive to foods. And I tried different variations of raw vegan, high fat, high carb, or balanced. But long term, I started to feel worse, but I was still so focused on my diet. I ended up trying paleo. I did autoimmune paleo. I did low FODMAPs. I did low histamine. I did low oxalate. You name it, I probably have tried that diet. And I gave each one a really good try. Like, I'm not talking, I did it for a week. Minimum, I did it 3 months, sometimes longer. If after those first 3 months on the diet, I still felt like crap, then I definitely stopped. They would work for a little bit sometimes, and then I would get completely sick, but I never got any long-term relief. And all these elimination diets, they're based on the principle that to heal your body, you need to heal your gut, and to heal your gut, you need to cut out inflammatory foods. It sounds really simple, just do it, right? But what I've discovered over the years I really hope it's going to save you years of frustration and trying all these diets yourself, is that there's really three main reasons why these diets don't work. So the first reason, and I think the biggest reason, is that 95% of people that I've talked to, they cannot stick to them, whether they can't stick to them short term or they can't stick to them long term. We are all addicted to processed food, and studies have shown that sugar lights up the brain just the same way that crack does. So, food doesn't have the negative effects on a person's life as quick as crack does or other drugs do, but the long-term health issues that result from, a processed food, standard American diet, they're just as serious and debilitating. Like, look at all of our chronic disease that we have. So I honestly believe that it's just as hard, if not harder, to quit processed food than it is to quit drugs. A lot of people are able to sober up because you go into a store, you don't see cigarettes everywhere, you don't see alcohol everywhere, and you definitely don't see, crack cocaine and everything everywhere. But there's food everywhere. You turn on your TV, food, food, food. You go out for dinner, food. You go to the grocery store, food. Where can you go that there's not going to be food? And I'm not just talking about you see the food, but you smell the food. Like, smelling it gets your mouth watering, all those juices flowing, and you really want it. So even if you can, quit food, what if your family doesn't want to and they're cooking, these really nice breads and cookies? That's going to be really terribly hard. So, and what about holidays or family gatherings? There's food everywhere. So the majority of people, they might be able to follow these diets short term, but they end up, crashing and binging, and they end up feeling really, really guilty that they don't end up sticking to the diet, and it takes them a long time to get back on it because of that fear of the guilt when they don't succeed. So, and we're all emotional eaters, and we have a ton of stress in our life, and it makes it really hard to go off the food. So does that sound like you? Because it was definitely me. Like, mind you, over the years, I got pretty good at sticking to the diets, but I really like food, and I want to be able to enjoy it without feeling like crap. And I want to be able to travel, and it's impossible to travel on an elimination diet. So other people can eat these foods. Why can't I? I want to be able to eat them. So reason number 2 why these eliminations diets don't work is that every single person is different. One, your sensitivities are different. So, this elimination diet might be great for everybody if that's what they're sensitive to. But what if you're actually sensitive to the foods on the diet? And the other reason is everybody thrives on different ratios of carbs, protein, and fat. Right now, the big fad is to go on a high fat, high protein with a very low carb diet. The whole ketogenic thing is really in style right now. So but it's not just how well you digest the fat. And if you're so used to just eating carbs your whole life, and then you all of a sudden start giving yourself high fat and high protein and you can't digest it, you're going to have a lot of gut issues. So, but it's not only that, it's how is your body able to convert it to energy? A lot of us can't use fat in cellular respiration to convert it to energy. That pathway's broken, either from, toxicity issues or just from lack of use. So if you aren't digesting and metabolizing whatever it is you're eating, you're going to feel worse. You're actually causing more stress to the body because it's not going to get the fuel that it's needed to live. So the reason number 3 why these elimination diets don't work is because over time, you're going to develop new sensitivities. Depends on how reactive you are, but normally within 3 to 6 months, you're going to see that the new food you're eating stops working. You start developing sensitivities to that new food. So I find these elimination diets too, they make the body more hypersensitive, and it gets to the point where people can't eat anything. Like every single thing they eat starts causing a reaction, and the reactions start becoming more and more severe. And why? It's because it's the same as medication. You're not addressing the root cause of the problem. It's still there and it's still getting worse. So there's so much more to being healthy than just your diet and your gut. Don't get me wrong, diet is critically important, but it's only part of the picture. So on its own, it's not enough. And wouldn't true healing allow you to enjoy some really yummy foods that aren't good for you sometime? Like, don't you want to get to the point where your body is able to handle these things? So I know that was my goal. And I just had to figure out, why some people could eat these foods without problems and why I couldn't. I wanted to be able to go out for dinner. I wanted to be able to enjoy the holidays, and I wanted to be able to travel and still feel amazing. Like, I want to go on a trip and not worry about a huge flare up. And I can now because I finally stopped obsessing about diet and focusing on it alone and started working on healing my whole body. So the last vital piece of information that I want to give you that's hopefully going to save you so much frustration and a lot of money is the dangers of trial and error and how it can add years to your healing journey and cost you thousands of dollars more. So after I decided that, these elimination diets, they're not for me, I started researching on other things beside diet. I was actually able to get off my antidepressants. I stumbled on amino acid therapy. I was able to heal my migraines and my depression. I started to cleanse and rebuild my gut and my liver and my adrenals. And I was actually able to get my lupus into remission. I had a lot more energy, but it's nowhere near what it is today. But the one thing that I just could not figure out was my acne. It was honestly terrible. I had huge cysts all over my face. They were so painful and I was so self-conscious and I really wanted to get rid of them. So I noticed that it was worse at certain times of the month, so I figured it was hormonal, and I had a pretty good understanding of hormones from my pre-medicine training, or, I thought I did, and I read every book on natural hormone balancing that I could find. I took different quizzes from all the top natural experts, and I thought I could figure it out, but my doctor, she would not test me for my hormones. She said, well, because of medical cuts, we just don't test people for hormones for acne-related causes. So I'd wasted thousands of dollars on different holistic practitioners that all they were doing was selling me supplements, and I just wasn't going to go there. So I came to the conclusion that I was estrogen dominant and I needed to get rid of my estrogen, the toxic estrogen. So I started taking some pretty powerful supplements to bring it down. And I was really, really wrong. So my estrogen was actually already low because of the supplements, because of all the stress that I was under. And the supplements ended up lowering it to a premenopausal state before I was 30 years old. So, being premenopausal at, age 28, that's not a good thing. But estrogen is needed for the healthy bladder lining. And when I started lowering mine, it started to really degrade my lining. And because of the protocols that I were doing that are hard on a bladder that's not at full health, I ended up developing interstitial cystitis. And it's probably the most excruciating pain ever on this planet. Not that I'm minimizing your pain, but just from all the stuff that I've gone through, that was the worst. It's basically like having a really bad bladder infection where you're peeing blood and you're on the way to the hospital screaming, trying to get pain relief, but having that constantly. So, and I had caused that. I had done that to myself by experimenting and not wanting to spend the money on the testing. So this was a huge turning point in my life. I knew I needed help, and when I had first started my healing journey, I had found a podcast by Sean Stevenson, and he's a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and he was really pivotal in my healing and changing my mindset and giving me a lot of hope because he had overcome some health issues too. And I knew that one day I wanted to be a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and help people heal themselves. But, back then I was on disability. I had absolutely no money, and any little bit of money that I had was, it was going to my health, but nowhere near what I needed to invest in the course. So fast forward to when I developed interstitial cystitis, I had just gotten back to work, and I didn't have any money. I spent thousands and thousands on trial and error, and I still had a lot of student loans, but I knew if I didn't do this, I would just keep spending anyway. I would spend more on trial and error, and I had seen that, okay, it was not working, and I had just caused this serious health issue. So I ended up taking the functional diagnostic nutrition course. I invested in myself and my future because I couldn't keep going. And I knew I was going to end up back on disability because working with when you have to pee every 10 minutes is next to impossible. So I started testing, and it turned out that all that years of trial and error, I still had a lot of work to do. I did more healing in my first 6 months in my program than I did in my entire life. So the testing was totally critical because so many things that I was guessing was really far off. So from what you can tell, I really hope that this webinar was really informative to you. From, you can see that had I known about this, now that you know my story, that it really would have helped me. And I'm hoping that these 3 things really help you on your healing journey. So medication and elimination diets, they're just Band-Aid solutions. It may minimize your symptoms right now, but don't be fooled. The root cause is still there, and it needs to be addressed if you're really, really going to truly heal. And if you don't address it, it's just going to keep getting worse. So trial and error can be really dangerous. It added 2 years to my healing journey, and that's a really long time to be in severe pain. So I want to thank you so much for listening to this webinar. I did promise that I'm going to give you the exact steps to heal your whole body as a thank you for listening the whole way through. So stay tuned in your email in the next 2 days. I'm going to be sending you a workbook on the exact steps you need to heal your whole body. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please check out my website, www.motivatedtoheal.com. You can actually find me on Facebook. I just created an amazing Facebook group dedicated to the whole body approach. There's a lot of amazing people on there that will help you and support you. And of course, I'm there also. And I really, really hope that my story has given you hope. The body, it can do amazing things when you give it what it needs to heal. So I want you to have a great day, and I really hope to talk to you soon. Take care.